If you're a senior who winces every time you sit down or stand back up, if your lower back starts aching by mid-afternoon even though you haven't done a single strenuous thing, or if you feel like your stomach muscles simply stopped turning on years ago, then what I'm about to show you could change the way you think about core strength for good. Because here's something almost nobody tells seniors. Sit-ups, crunches, and even those standing core classes at the gym are often the worst possible way to rebuild a weak core later in life. Physical therapists who specialize in older adults will tell you the same thing over and over. A spine that's already lost some of its support can't safely handle the pressure that standing core exercises put through it. So instead of getting stronger, a lot of seniors just end up more sore, more discouraged, and no closer to relief. Read that again, because it matters. The core work you were told to do might be the reason it never worked. Here's the good news. There's a completely different approach, one you can do without ever leaving your mattress, and it's the approach rehab clinics quietly rely on with patients who can't tolerate anything else. There are 5 specific bed-based movements that rebuild core strength and unload a cranky lower back from the inside out. And the last one on this list, the one we're saving for the very end, is a move physical therapists sometimes call the quiet activator, because it works muscles so deep that most people have never consciously felt them fire before. Stick with me to the end, because that final movement alone could be the missing piece that finally gets you through a full day without your back screaming at you. Coming in at number 5, we have the pelvic tilt, which might be the single most underrated movement in all of physical therapy. A pelvic tilt is a small, controlled rocking motion of your hips while you're lying flat on your back, and I promise you it does far more than it looks like it does. Here's why it earns the top of this list. Almost every senior with lower back pain has a lower back that's stuck in one of 2 positions, either arched too far up off the mattress or pressed too flat and rigid against it. Either way, the deep core muscles that are supposed to support your spine have essentially gone to sleep. Pelvic tilts are how you wake them back up. Rehab professionals see this constantly. Patients who spend a few minutes a day gently rocking their pelvis regain a level of control in their lower back that years of stretching alone never gave them. To get into position, lie flat on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the mattress, about hip width apart. Rest your arms comfortably at your sides, palms down. Take a moment to notice the small gap between your lower back and the bed. That gap is what you're going to be working with. Here's how to do the movement safely. Gently tighten your lower stomach muscles, the ones just below your belly button, and use them to flatten your lower back down into the mattress, closing that gap. Hold that flattened position for 3 seconds. Then, just as slowly, let your lower back arch slightly away from the bed, creating a small curve. Hold that for another 3 seconds. That's 1 repetition. Move slowly and with control the entire time. This isn't a movement you rush. Aim for 12 to 15 repetitions per set and try for 2 to 3 sets spread across your day. Morning and evening work especially well, right when your back tends to feel stiffest. This movement is valuable for nearly everyone, but it's especially powerful for seniors who wake up with a stiff lower back, anyone who spends long stretches sitting during the day, and people recovering from a back strain who've been told to avoid anything intense. Now, the common mistakes, because there are a few that quietly cancel out the benefit. The first is using your hips and legs to force the movement instead of your abdominal muscles. If your whole lower body is rocking, you're doing too much. The second mistake is holding your breath. Breathe out gently as you flatten your back, and breathe in as you release. The third mistake is rushing through the reps to get them over with. A fast pelvic tilt barely engages the muscle at all. Slow is what makes it work. For maximum benefit, try pausing for an extra second right at the flattened position and gently drawing your belly button down toward your spine as if you're bracing for a light tap to the stomach. That small addition recruits the deep transverse abdominis, which is the true corset muscle of your core. Many seniors notice their lower back feels looser within the first week, and that looseness is exactly what makes every movement after this one more effective, because you're finally working with a spine that knows how to move again. Before we go any further, if this is helping so far, tap that like button so more seniors dealing with back pain can find this video, and go ahead and subscribe. We publish a new senior health video like this one every single day, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's move up to number 4. Number 4 on our list is the supported knee to chest, a gentle movement that stretches and strengthens at the same time, something almost no other exercise manages to do. This movement combines a gentle hip flexor stretch with active core engagement, and it directly targets the tightness that builds up in your hips and lower back from sitting for hours at a time. Here's why it ranks so high. Tight hip flexors are one of the most overlooked causes of lower back pain in seniors. When those muscles shorten from sitting, they quietly pull on your pelvis and put extra strain on your lower back with every single movement you make, whether you're aware of it or not. Therapists who work with seated or low mobility patients see this pattern constantly, and they consistently find that a short, gentle stretch and brace routine like this one loosens the hips and calms the lower back faster than almost anything else they prescribe. To prepare, lie flat on your back with both legs extended. Keep one leg straight on the bed and bend the other knee up toward your chest. Rest your hands gently behind that bent knee or on your shin, wherever feels most comfortable and secure. Here's how to perform it safely. Slowly draw your bent knee toward your chest, using your hands for gentle support rather than force. As you draw the knee in, engage your lower stomach muscles just slightly, as if you're bracing your core the way you did with the pelvic tilt. Pull the knee in only as far as feels like a comfortable stretch, never into pain. Hold that position for 5 seconds, breathing steadily the whole time. Then slowly lower the leg back down to the starting position, taking about 3 seconds to release. That's one repetition. Do 8 to 10 reps on one side, then switch legs. Aim for 2 sets per leg, once a day to start. This movement is especially valuable for seniors who feel stiff getting out of bed in the morning, anyone who sits for long periods during the day, and people whose lower back tightens up noticeably by the end of an afternoon. It's also gentle enough for most people managing mild arthritis in the hip, since there's no weight bearing involved at any point. Let's cover the common mistakes, because a few small errors take most of the benefit away. The first mistake is yanking the knee in too quickly. That turns a controlled stretch into a jerky motion that can irritate the lower back instead of soothing it. The second mistake is letting the straight leg lift off the bed. Keep that leg pressed down the entire time, or you lose the stabilizing benefit for your core. The third mistake is forgetting to engage your stomach muscles during the hold, which turns this into a passive stretch instead of the active core movement it's meant to be. For maximum benefit, try gently pressing your lower back down into the mattress at the peak of the hold, the same way you did during pelvic tilts. That combination is what quietly links this movement to true core strength rather than just flexibility. Many seniors report that their lower back feels noticeably less tight within the first 2 weeks of doing this consistently, and mornings especially start to feel easier. That brings us to number 3. At number 3, we have the modified dead bug, a movement borrowed from physical therapy that looks deceptively gentle and delivers results that are anything but. This exercise trains your deep core muscles to stabilize your spine while your arms and legs move independently, which is exactly the kind of coordination your body relies on every time you reach for something or shift your weight while standing. Here's why it earns such a high spot on this list. A weak core doesn't just cause back pain, it also throws off your balance, because your spine has to work harder to stay steady with every step you take. Therapists who specialize in fall prevention often say the same thing, that a core which can hold steady while your limbs move is one of the biggest predictors of staying steady on your feet later in life. To prepare, lie flat on your back with your knees bent and feet flat on the mattress. Raise both arms straight up toward the ceiling, directly over your shoulders. This is your modified starting position, gentler than the traditional version where the knees are also lifted. Here's how to do it safely. Begin by gently flattening your lower back into the mattress, just like you practiced with the pelvic tilt. While holding that flattened position, slowly lower one arm back over your head toward the mattress, only as far as you can go while keeping your lower back pressed down and still. The moment your back wants to arch, stop right there. That's your range for today. Hold for 2 seconds, then slowly bring the arm back to the starting position. Repeat on the opposite side. That's 1 repetition. Aim for 8 to 10 repetitions per side, doing 1 set per day to begin with. As your control improves over several weeks, you can add a second set. This movement helps a wide range of seniors, but it's especially useful for anyone who feels unsteady while reaching overhead. People who've noticed their balance isn't what it used to be, and folks working to rebuild core strength safely after a period of inactivity. Now for the common mistakes, because this one has a few sneaky pitfalls. The first mistake is letting the lower back arch up off the bed as the arm lowers. The instant that happens, your spine has taken over for your core, and the exercise stops doing its job. The second mistake is moving both arms at once instead of one at a time. Working one side at a time is what actually challenges your core stability. The third mistake is rushing through the movement to get more reps in. Slow, controlled reps with a completely still lower back are worth far more than fast ones with a wobbly spine. For maximum benefit, try softly exhaling through pursed lips as you lower your arm, the way you'd blow out a candle slowly. That breathing pattern naturally deepens the core engagement without you having to think about it. Seniors who stick with this consistently often notice they feel steadier, reaching into a cabinet or bending to pick something up because their core has finally learned to hold its ground while the rest of the body moves. Now we're moving up to number 2. At number 2 on our list, we have the core braced bridge, a movement that combines two of the most valuable things your body needs as you age, hip strength and true core stability, into a single efficient exercise. You've probably heard of a basic bridge before, but the version we're covering here adds one critical piece most people skip entirely, and that piece is what makes all the difference. Here's why it ranks so high. Your glutes and your deep core muscles are meant to work as a team, bracing your spine together every time you stand, walk, or shift your weight. When that teamwork breaks down, which happens naturally with age and inactivity, your lower back ends up absorbing forces it was never designed to handle alone. Therapists see this pairing come up again and again in patients recovering from back pain, and restoring that glute and core partnership is often the single biggest turning point in their recovery. To prepare, lie flat on your back with both knees bent and feet flat on the mattress, about hip width apart, heels roughly 6 inches from your buttocks. Rest your arms at your sides with your palms down for stability. Here's how to perform it safely. Start by gently bracing your core the way you've practiced in the earlier movements, drawing your belly button slightly down and in. While holding that brace, press through your heels and slowly lift your hips off the bed until your body forms a straight line from your knees to your shoulders. Don't lift any higher than that, since going further just shifts the strain into your lower back instead of your glutes and core. Hold the bridged position for 5 seconds, keeping your core braced and your breathing steady the entire time. Then slowly lower your hips back down over about 3 seconds. That's 1 repetition. Aim for 10 repetitions per set with 2 sets once a day. This exercise is especially valuable for seniors whose lower back tends to ache after standing for a while, anyone who feels their hips give out a little when rising from a chair, and people rebuilding strength after a period of limited activity. Let's go over the common mistakes, because this is where the real benefit is often lost. The first mistake is forgetting to brace your core before lifting, which leaves your lower back to do all the work instead of sharing the load with your glutes. The second mistake is arching too far at the top of the bridge, which puts unnecessary pressure on the spine. The straight line from knees to shoulders is the sweet spot, nothing more. The third mistake is letting your knees splay outward during the lift. Keep them stacked directly over your ankles the whole time for proper alignment. For maximum benefit, try holding a gentle squeeze in your glutes and a light brace in your core simultaneously at the very top of the movement, treating it as one coordinated hold rather than 2 separate efforts. That combined hold is what teaches your body the partnership it's been missing. Seniors who practice this consistently often say that standing up from a low chair starts to feel noticeably less effortful within just a few weeks because their hips and core have finally relearned how to work together. And now, it's time for the number 1 movement. Number 1 on our list is the isometric bird dog hold, the movement physical therapists sometimes call the quiet activator, because it recruits the deep stabilizing muscles along your entire spine in a way that almost nothing else does, all without a single inch of movement once you're in position. A bird dog is a cross-body hold where you extend an opposite arm and leg while keeping your torso completely still, and it's considered one of the gold standard exercises for spinal stability and physical therapy today. Before you assume it sounds too advanced, let me walk you through exactly how gentle and controlled the bed-based version really is. Therapists who specialize in spine rehabilitation often point to this exact movement as the turning point for patients who've struggled with chronic lower back tightness for years, precisely because it trains the small, deep muscles that run along your spine to hold your body steady under load, the same muscles that are supposed to protect your back every time you reach, twist, or bend during your normal day. Most seniors have never consciously activated these muscles before, which is exactly why this movement feels so different the first time you try it. To prepare, Get into a hands and knees position on your mattress, with your hands stacked under your shoulders and your knees stacked under your hips. If your wrists feel sensitive, you can make loose fists and rest on your knuckles instead. Keep your neck in a neutral position, looking gently down at the mattress rather than straight ahead. Here's how to perform it safely. Begin by gently bracing your core, just like you've practiced throughout this video. While holding that brace, slowly extend your right arm straight out in front of you and your left leg straight out behind you at the same time, keeping both close to the height of your torso rather than reaching up toward the ceiling. Move slowly and stop the moment you feel your lower back start to arch or your hips start to tilt to one side. Once you've found a stable, controlled position, hold completely still for 5 seconds, breathing steadily. Then slowly lower your arm and leg back down to the starting position. Switch sides, extending your left arm and right leg. That's 1 full repetition. Aim for 6 to 8 repetitions per side, doing 1 set per day to begin. As your stability improves, you can gradually work up to 2 sets and slightly longer holds. This movement is especially valuable for seniors who deal with chronic lower back tightness, anyone whose balance feels less reliable than it used to, and people looking for one focused exercise that ties every other movement on this list together into real, functional strength. Now let's cover the common mistakes, because form matters more here than in almost any other exercise on this list. The first mistake is letting the hips rotate or tilt to one side as the arm and leg extend. If your hips are twisting, you've lost the stability the exercise is meant to build. The second mistake is arching the lower back as you reach the arm and leg out. Keep that brace engaged the entire time to protect your spine. The third mistake is rushing to add height or distance to the reach before you've mastered a completely still, level torso. Range comes later. Stillness comes first. The fourth mistake is holding your breath during the hold, which increases tension in all the wrong places. Breathe slowly and steadily throughout. For maximum benefit, try lightly imagining a cup of water balanced on your lower back and hold the position as if you're determined not to spill a single drop. That single mental cue does more to correct form than almost any verbal instruction could. Seniors who commit to this movement for several consistent weeks often describe a lower back that finally feels dependable again, one that doesn't announce itself with every twist or reach, because the deep muscles meant to protect it have finally been switched back on. So there you have it, the 5 most effective bed-based movements for building a stronger core and finally calming a cranky lower back, all without a single sit-up or standing core class. Start tonight with even just one of them and give your body the chance to surprise you. You don't have to master all 5 right away. If you can only commit to one to start, make it the isometric bird dog hold, since it ties everything else on this list together, and add the other movements in as your strength and confidence build. Consistency, done gently, beats intensity every time at this stage of life. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who's been dealing with back pain, and subscribe for more senior health guidance that actually holds up. Your core is stronger than you think, it's just been waiting for the right kind of attention. Now we want to hear from you. Do you deal with lower back pain when you sit down or stand up? Which of these 5 movements are you going to try first tonight? Let us know in the comments below. We genuinely love reading them. Thanks for watching.